Good afternoon and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Grass. We're laughing because my chair keeps squeaking. A warm welcome to Carnation Grass. We're live in the Carnation Grass studio, and as always, it's wonderful to have your company. You can also laugh at said squeaking chair because it ain't stopping anytime soon. It is wonderful to have you here. We're having a revisit of the launch of the On the Road Again die set, which is an expansion pack that came out last week or earlier this week, and we're just having a second look at it today. So you can find this on the Carnation Crafts website. Now, it is under the product code 241020. It is the On the Road Again die set if you want to type that in. Its normal price is $39.99. Now, Carnation have been wonderful We Humans, and they've reduced the price for you again for today. So it's back down to $29.99. It's got $2.95 UKP and P, and at midnight tonight it's going to go back to its original price. Now, we very rarely do that, so it's nice to have that extra option. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen and that will take you to the product directly. You can use the code, you can use the name. There's a billion ways of finding it. You can even go onto the new releases tab on the Carnation Crafts website and it will take you there as well. So hopefully that's your handheld to grab the actual product. What is it? It's a gorgeous die set that's an expansion of the original Sunsets and Skylines collection that we had. So if you've got that, it will pair perfectly with it. If you haven't got that, it independently stands as this kind of wonderful set of outdoor dies, things that represent camping, traveling. You've got your caravan there, you've got the awning, the swing tennis, the bikes, various different things which I'll show you on the boards. But it just depicts those scenes, doesn't it, of summer holidays, either representing from when you were a child or for those kind of things that we give to people who may also be outdoorsy in our lives and who we love, and we want to send nice cards that represent part of their personality. So everything there for you: kayaking, biking, tennis, all the things I do in my free time. Obvs.
Is that when you're sleeping?
In my dreams.
Your dreams?
I mean, I got out of bed this morning. That's sometimes a bit like a hike, just so you know. So I do some outdoorsy stuff.
Indoors.
I do my outdoor stuff indoors that most people just consider normal life. Right, let's have a look at the artwork that you're getting. So we've got this gorgeous caravan with your signs there. So you've got obviously your red triangle, the blue circle, and your elements that go with that. But look at the awning. So this pulls from the side of the caravan. It will seat on this line for you. So it gives you the idea of that extension of the caravan. You've got your tow bar here, which we'll just place onto the back. And then we've got a registration plate. Now, this is left blank so that you can write on it whatever is appropriate to your recipient. And that could be, a number of different things. But it is sitting there ready for you to use. You can use a pen to do that with. It's just sort of for writing on the small letters. I'll show you as we go through the DT samples, different variants that have been used for that. And it's just a super cute way of adding your own personalisation to a card in a way that's easy to do. So you've got that there. And then we get to the board that's got all of your outdoor assets, if you like. So the things you might do when you're camping. This would be me, where you've got your chair and a cup of tea next to a nice warm fire. You've got your Calagas tank, which is there for your caravan, obviously. The two bikes that you might take with you if you go on camping. Your kayak. You've got the fence. The fence is really important. I'll get into that, but it does give you that grounding device. You've got your two little bats. Are they called bats? For your paddles for your swing tennis. Rackets. If it's swing tennis, would it be a racket? Anyway, regardless, you've got that for your swing tennis as well. So all the elements you need to create those outdoorsy scenes. Now, added to that, we've then got Sunsets and Skylines. And Sunsets and Skylines gives us the rolling hills. It gives us the cars. It gives us the sheep and the cows. All the farming business off in the distance. So we start to really expand, don't we? So it does work independently. If you haven't got Sunsets and Skylines, much as I say you don't actually need it, it is worth going to check it out for those elements that will give you those outdoor scenes. We can use them in loads of different ways, can't we? So you've got those pieces as well. Where is it? Do you know the number for Sunsets and Skylines
just put
for
it
me?
in the chat.
Oh, Taz has linked it for you in the chat on Facebook and on YouTube.
Yep.
So that you can access that straight away, straight from those links. Thank you very much to Miss Taz, who does sit diligently in the corner, not only trying to care for me, but also doing the things that are needed. So thank you for Miss Taz. Right, let's have a look at some DT samples so we can see. So you can see on this one where they've written on the sign, no fishing. This is Sue Dalrymple here, coming in strong. You've got the chairs that depict camping out, the kayak that suggests it might be outdoorsy, those gorgeous backing papers that give us the idea of sort of a misty, well, it could be water, couldn't it? You could use those as waves and that would represent for the kayak, or it could be those misty rolling hills behind. So it all comes together and you can see the gorgeous kingfisher there, that build-up of the red and white florals as well, used to create your framing devices. Pam Simpson here coming in. We've got your caravan, the fence posts. They're really important. Grounding devices are going to be the key thing in a lot of cards that we make because it makes sense of what we do. And you can see the awning there. You've got the sunshine, the gorgeous sentiment, you are my sunshine, and using apertures there to give you the idea of a box frame. So you get this really nice sense of dimension and build up too. From there, we've got smaller line cards. Bon voyage. There's your little campfire and it folds up into, I love that. The way it sort of frames out that motorcycle is so sweet from Virabeau there. Very, very cute. There's your little moo cows. Everything coming together. Get your nested dies out. I believe these are your shabby chic dies. And that is your rectangular frame. How gorgeous are they? It really works, doesn't it? It comes together. And especially nested dies are going to be really important in this set because when we use apertures and we create that frame, that box frame that allows us to walk into the picture, when we're creating outdoor scenes, that becomes ever more prevalent because we can really sort of form the pictures. Janine Dawson coming in here with this one. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at the use of the grass at the bottom. Doesn't have to be placed right along in a line. It can be used, because the way Janine's done it there, it starts to look like sand dunes, doesn't it? That you've got some element of foliage in there. So it's a clever use of it. We can create in many different ways. Again, for Janine here, the 2 camp chairs. Sometimes less is more. It tells a story anyway, doesn't it? Who's sitting in the seats? Is it you and a loved one? Are you handing it to a couple who love to go camping? Sold. Beautiful, right? Enjoy retirement. I think for lots of people who retire, caravanning and camping becomes quite a large part of life, doesn't it? Which is really nice. Gorgeous scenes. The little sheep in the background giving perspective there to the caravan, which is obviously much larger and in focus. Good look. Simple, right? That is using the frame from your Clean and Simple collections. So again, bringing in the different elements that you've got, making use of all of the pieces that we have. Something a little bit busier there, depicting those scenes. Again, using Carnation's nested dies because it helps to create those soft edges that give us the foundation for the card we're making. You're already making a statement by the card base that you use. So bringing that in really, really adds to it, doesn't it? Now, I'm just going to focus on those for the minute, and then what I'm going to do my first demo. After that, we'll recap the deal, and then we'll go through the rest of the finished samples before I finish my second demo, which should take us to the end of the show. And if you've got any questions at all about Taz's personal life, about Carnation, please do pop that in the chat, and we'll answer any questions that we can for you. And so,
to sound like an agony aunt.
well, but they're asking questions about your personal life. They're not trying to help you. Nobody can do that.
Okay.
You're beyond help with that, Miss Taz. We got past that time a long time ago. Right. Let me just get my demo out for you. No, it's a good time to ask those questions while we're revisiting, because we can hopefully help focus on them for you. And if I know the answers, I'll certainly give them to you. If not, we can find out from Carnation HQ. Let's just unbag that. Right. So, card base, which I scored. You'll all be pleased to know. I know. Let me just give you sizes, because I know lots of you like to know. Get rid of whatever fluff that is. Right, we have got 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. Any of you wondering where the glass mat comes from, again, check out the Carnation website. Also, if you missed this morning's show at 10 o'clock, we did have the launch show on the Carnation website of their brand new, beautiful, beautiful USB. I'm sorry if you missed it. You can re-watch at any time you like on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. However, if you watch today, you can still bag the discount that you can get on that USB as well. So it's always a good time. If you're watching this in a year, that will make absolutely no sense. Let me just put that there. Whenever you're doing your mats and layers, as much as we use the tab system to be able to have that slip and slide, always a good idea to try and line it up to the bottom edge of your cutting mat. And if I can line it up there and keep that relatively straight, it means I know roughly I'm going to have a straight line going through. That's helpful when I'm certainly doing it, because I can't lean over, otherwise you just see my big noggin. But it just gives me a reference point. Take away your tabs, and then let's come in and cool those tones with that gorgeous white framing out. So we're creating that frame. Now, the difference with frames, when we're talking about box frames or you're creating layer frames, which is, this would be considered as such a layer frame because of the mats and layers. The difference being is perspective changes. When we create a box frame, you are literally walking into the scene, which is slightly different. And I'm going to place this just onto here. Just as there. Right, let's have a look. We've got lots of rolling hills here, and we've got the caravan. That's going to be our big perspective here. With the rolling hills, I just want to talk to you about variants. I can add my rolling hills. They're clever, these rolling hills. They've got these sort of pieces pieced together, so you can change them round. If I want to, for instance, detach that piece and just use the rolling hills that are here, I absolutely can, because my cut lines establish that kind of boundary that I've got. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm going to ask Taz to focus in, because it's something we talk about a lot and I want to actually show you it. And I don't know if Taz can get near enough, but we are going to try. When my cut line detail comes in here, I've got pip marks, and those pip marks are what hold my pieces together. Why not just have a smooth line going through? Why not just use it as a score line? What do I get as an advantage to having those pips? You can see one there, and there's one just here. The advantage is when I go to cut those pips, if I use a craft knife or a pair of scissors to do it, I'm cutting a tiny amount of the cardstock. I'm not cutting the whole lot. It keeps it flush, but it also allows it to, the cut line's already there. All I'm doing is just releasing that one tiny bit. So the fleshing out of where it was held together is tiny. So you don't get that kind of visual mess that's there when we try and just do it with scissors on a score line. So they're really important, those pip marks, and we should take great advantage of them. I've got my first set of rolling hills laid down. Now I've got the 4 pieces here, so I just want to talk about formation of the rolling hills, how they work and what we can do with them. So what I can do at this point, if I want to, I can choose to lay in another set, which gives me them. I can offset them so the hills are at different points. I can rotate so I have a different visual, so we get the look, or I can start to layer them. So if I bring in this piece here to create that rolling hill, and then I layer them through, and I might turn that one round to give it a difference at the other side, and I just picky hole that through. I've got a build up now. I've got rolling hills. Okay, so that formation starts to provide me with sort of alternative looks. Now your alternative is to turn it so we're working on landscape, place a couple together, raise one on foam tape. That'll give you shadow play, so it will make one look higher. Get rid of your straight edge because we don't have straight edges on rolling hills. Bring this in and bring it in so that it is on foam tape potentially. I can bring this in so it sweeps that. You see where I've got this line coming through here? My colour matching. If I place this on and sort of colour match, it will make it look like they're almost like there's a road coming down the hills. Do you see what I mean? So you're building all the time. We're guaranteed to build those scenes, and that's what we're looking for. And that's, again, why we choose to use Carnation, because those elements are thought through for us. I can place that there. I could place this one maybe on top, or turn it round even. Place it there. And then possibly do something similar on the other side. In case you get that kind of build-up of scene, I would move that maybe to there. Now, the more you work with foam tape with your hills, the more difference you'll form in your foundations of your rolling hills. So my advice is start playing with height, dimension, and work out the sort of formation that you want. Now, I'm going to work, having said all of that, from my midpoint, and keep my white borders at the side because I'm going to use it as a technique of framing. So my white borders will become my frames. So you can do that when you've got your square edges, and that's a nice way to play. So I'm going to use it that way. I'm going to tip myself out some PVA. Oh, this is going to be a mistake. Oops. Right. Oh, I've still got one. So I'm going to use a small amount of wet glue. I've got plenty of glue, Taz. It's just not coming out. But thank you for being on the ball, looking after me. Right, I need to be careful at this point. I've got some wet adhesive here. Now, because I've got that, it's going to stick. Obviously, it's what its job is. So if I lay that straight down on here, I'm not going to be able to tuck anything behind it. I'm going to utilise the fact that I've got those cut lines there, and I'm just going to pull it forward first. And then I can place down, keeping my border out. Or I could have placed it at the top if I knew how I was going to layer it down. It doesn't really matter. But in order to make sure that I don't get into a pickle with it, I'm just going to pin down the bottom two corners. The others will, the adhesion will still work, and then I can add more if I need to, but it means that I've got it when I need it, but I can just keep it held back, and that's going to stop it get interfering with what I'm doing. I'm going to tuck this scene just behind, and I want to just get rid of those pointy edges, so I'm going to put one behind there and then just seat in. Once I've got it placed, that adhesion that I put in, now I'm going to seal it, okay? So that's just going to give me those two sorted. I'm not going to put any adhesion behind here until I've got my forms done. So I'm going to bring this one through, and I'm going to rotate it so it will still create that straight edge, and I've still got my framing out, but now my hills are getting higher, everything's slightly offset with colours, so I'm not just getting this kind of weird straight edge. Now I'm just going to raise this one, and I'm just going to pop a tiny amount of adhesive just at my side edges, push. That'll hold it in place, which is all I need right now. I remember I can go in afterwards and I can keep sticking down until I've formed everything. This is going to give me security, but not commitment, and that's often what we like. And I can place that in. Now for me, the formation is too static because I've got the two hills in the same place, so I'm going to rotate that so that I get that colour change as I'm going up, and it's just going to make the hills look fuller. I can also cut into these, by the way, and like I say, if I wanted to, I could foam tape that up, and my shadow play would bring me this gorgeous big hill at the front, okay? So you can play in different ways. I want the caravan to go on though, so that will interfere with that process. I do that the wrong way around after all. Do you know? Lift and slide under. And just poke that through. And now I can commit that down because I'm not going to be tucking anything else, and I do need it to stay. So my frame is now sorted out. It's because rolling hills never stop on a straight line. So visually what we've done is we've produced a frame. We know that the hills don't stop there. There's a frame, because rolling hills don't just suddenly have a square edge, certainly not in our universe anyway. So I've got that frame device which I can use to my then best advantage. I'm going to bring the caravan in, and the caravan's going to be my star of the show. Different ways that I can make that happen. Basically, it's going to sort of seat down here, and it's the biggest point of my card, isn't it? If I wanted to create some sort of distance, you can offset it at an angle as if it's driving. And you've got that sense of movement just by putting it at an angle. It gives you a different visual. So we've got obviously what we would assume is maybe parked, right? So if you're using the awning, you wouldn't want your caravan on a jaunty angle. That goes for real life and in card making as well. Well, I wouldn't want mine at a jaunty angle. Place that in. So I'm just going to lay down. So I've still got my border. I've got this, that. I've got this here, and I've got this moving up, so you can still see the framing device there. And that helps with the grounding of it. So I hope all of that is making sense to you. I don't want to talk gibberish entirely. I'm going to bring in my corner, and I'm just going to offset it over the edge slightly. That's just going to allow it to have a little movement. Just make sure that's not interfering too much. If I'm just going to hand this card to a recipient, I'm more than happy to let those run free and just have a movement to them, a fluidity. If I'm sending it in the post, I'm most definitely going to make sure they are adhered down, because I don't want them to get bent or move. And I'm going to focus my adhesive over to the right hand side, because it'll be over the edge on the left. So I'm just going to place in. I'm going to commit at that side, just so I know it's placed. Okay, so now we're really framing out. We've got that scene kind of building, haven't we? So from there, one of the things I want to look at today, and I'm going to look at it in both demos, is the awning, because it's a great little piece. I'll put it on top so you can see it. If I place the awning in, it'll just sit nicely on that line out of that caravan there. It extends the picture, doesn't it? It's automatic. We get this movement that's really pleasing. So I'm going to place it in. You can choose to obviously tuck it behind as if your florals are the foreground, and that will sort of seat there. It depends what you want to do. I'm quite happy with it on the top. It doesn't detract from my visual. It's just if you're trying to achieve a certain look. A little bit of adhesive on its feet. Over 80% of this is gone, guys. You're going to have to be fairly speedy. So I've got my blue line. I'm going to find it. I'm going to commit and place that down. And there's my awning coming out. So we've got this beautiful scene setting as we're going through. Now I've got my little campfire here. And the reason I don't want it down here per se is that I actually want to start building the idea of maybe there's other people camping and it's not just this. It could be something else, couldn't it? So if I put my little campfire kind of over here, it's going to look a little bit random. We might need a fire engine, but if we add in a chair, the idea is that over the hills, somebody is sitting, somebody's having a little campfire. If you want to make the fire a little less protrusive, you can just offset these by just tucking them further down. So they're still visible as what they are, but it gives you a little visual cue that something's happening over in the distance. And it really depends on how you want to build the scene, but it'll take care of some of that white space for you. So that's what I'm going to do, is just tuck them through. If I put them down here, that will also give me an alternative. It is the idea of somebody is seated next to their caravan and that they're having, you know, fun. They've already set up, having the awnings there. There's elements coming through. So maybe if we do it that way with these, and then I'll utilise the bikes for the hill so we can look at those. So we'll place this in. If you use foam tape for this, you'll get your shadows, so you can do that as well. I will say for the fire, I don't know if this will make sense to any of you or not, I'll do it with pin flare. If you're going to use the fire and it's next to the chair, and as ridiculous as this sounds, because we know it's a vignette, we know there's no real fire. However, our instincts as humans, because fire is one of our biggest nemesises and also one of our greatest allies, we know we don't want it too near to the chair. Offset it with some distance and visually that will help. So a good piece of foam tape or silicone gel glue to give it some distance. Okay, so that distance allows us to know that it's in the foreground, it's away from the caravan, it's away from the chair and somebody's camping. It'll just help with your visuals. Now I've got my bike here. I'm going to put one of them on the caravan. I've got two. So I'm going to place one on here and I glue it flat. And I'm just going to do it on the middle of the spokes. Okay, so here's a generation question for those of you watching at home. Who remembers when you were little, the plastic wrap, the little plastic tie that was a square shape on bread that you would then put on the spokes of your tyres so that when you went cycling, you would make a noise? You won't remember them, will you? Do you remember the little plastic ties on bread? Were you old enough to remember those?
I know what they are, but we used plastic bottles when we were younger.
Bottles? Do you mean bottle tops or bottles?
No, and we used to put it in the trim of the wheel, I guess. You know, those bits.
These?
Yeah.
The spokes?
Yeah,
so bottle caps, not actual bottles?
No, we put bottles.
Huh? You're not getting in the way of the wheel turning?
No, because they were empty.
You'd never put them on a chopper, that's all I'm telling you. Right, so this is where we come into the finer details, where we start adding those detailed elements through. I'm going to place my tow bar just on here. Now your tow bar obviously is going to be placed on some of those cars as well from Sunsets and Skylines, so you'll have those visuals. I've got my little bike, so I do want to offset something into the distance. The great thing about having the big bike and then what would essentially be classed maybe as a child's bike, because it's smaller perspective wise, it will give me a sense of distance. So if I place it and then I tuck it off into that distance, it will give it a different sense of perspective. Now, because I've got those lines coming down, I don't just want to leave them. I want to make a difference between the hill formation, and I'm going to do that with florals. So let's cut off that square joint with a little floral, so we lose it. Let's bring in some florals to just break up those hills. Out. Find your little tuck-in point to just place in some florals and those pops of colour that are so important. Gives us a sense of those rolling hills, doesn't it? And then finally I'll add some value between these two midline points as well. So that we create that busy camping scene. Now you can use a backing paper of a colour, so a blue, to give you the idea of the sky as well. That's an alternative use for you. Or use your white space just to denote those sort of normal days that we have where often the sky appears more white than either grey or blue. It's just a nice way of using your framing devices. So I hope that helps with your rolling hills. For those of you who are not familiar with Sunsets and Skylines, that's where you'll find your rolling hills. They're in there, they're not in the die set with the caravan that we've got today, which is on the road again. Carnation do something called an expansion pack. For those of you brand new to us, your expansion pack is basically a collection that extends another collection that you've bought. So this fits in with that and everything works together. And it's so that you're not basically handing over your hard-earned cash with a full stop at the end of it. Carnation like to leave a pause. That's what it is. You get to then add to those collections as they go, which gives us more value. It makes them much more useful and versatile to us. And sometimes we also get what's called special edition vignettes, which are different colorings for these as well, making them for different seasons, etc. So you get all of those elements through. So I hope that helps. Yes, Miss Taz.
I think it's time to say hello to some people.
Hi.
So over on YouTube, we've got Joanne who says, hello ladies, I'm excited to watch. I've just got back from hospital after a little fall. I fractured my leg.
Oh no.
More time for crafting, lol.
That's true, but I hope you're not in pain with that. That's not fun.
And then over on Facebook, we've got Suzanne who's saying, hi Carla and Miss Taz, back again.
This is
Love
Suzanne's
this
like ultimate collection, I would imagine.
We've got Karen Slade who's saying good afternoon everyone. She loves this additional
It's great,
set.
isn't it?
Rebecca is saying she's enjoying the show. We've
Yay.
got Shirley Taylor who is saying, good morning Carla and Miss Taz, loving this collection. May I ask please which collection the grass comes from that Janine has used?
Sunsets and Skylines, as far as I'm aware. So basically, if the DT are told this is the collection and it's an expansion pack of this collection, the DT are very cautious to only use those two elements. And we try and do that all the time, as often as possible. It's not always the case, but as a rule, any DT samples that you use or that you see will have the collections that are guided by the shows we're doing, because so that we don't confuse you either, and so that you know what you're buying into. So it'll be from Sunsets and Skylines, I would imagine.
And then we've got Suzanne Page again who is saying she loves this die set. She's been making her Christmas cards with this.
I love that.
She's been adding Christmas bits in glitter, snow. Love, love, love.
You could use the tinsel. Actually, we've had tinsel in, different tinsels in a couple of sets, and decorate the caravan window, couldn't you? That would be super cute. Right, let's have a look at some more DT samples before we move on to that final demo. So we've got our little Z fold here. So Z folds are useful in so many ways. You can obviously put them in different ways. You can hold them up. You can do variants with them. Z folds are awesome. And I think, I've got a feeling that this, we said this last week, earlier this week, I think it's the Z fold card shape. I think that's its title. So if anybody is interested in that, I know lots of you ask questions. So, but what that does is offer you that triptych, doesn't it? So we can create almost different scenes in each panel that all stabilize and come together at the end of the card. So it looks really effective. It's a beautiful way of using it. Massive thank you to Barbara Treadwell there for her sample. Janine Dawson coming in here. We had a look at this one last. It's just incredible, isn't it? How we form dimension. So what Janine has done here, and I'm going to show you the back of it. So let's deconstruct a DT card. If I turn that around, you've got the panel here for the rolling hills that you've seen me use. They're creating not only a front vision for us, but they're actually creating a dimensional card base. By that I mean this. Can you see? So I've got these pieces that sit inside that are allowing the caravan to seat forward, but it also forms my card base. Clever use of it, because what it does is allow the caravan, which is what we're looking at here, to be my star of the show. I can fold it flat for postage, or I can raise it forward as I seat it there. Then Janine's elements come through where we have these pieces that are all placed at different heights on foam tape to provide the idea, without using apertures, of walking in and having different points. So if you put your fence posts on foam tape and you put your chairs on foam tape and then you put your backing pieces, whatever they may be, maybe on foam tape, then something flat at the back. You'll create the idea of dimension, width, and being able to walk into that card. It becomes incredibly effective, doesn't it? You can see the use of the grass there again. So just to establish that we know it's from the Sunsets and Skylines collection, where you see the fence posts that are in today's collection, they've got the grass on the bottom of them. Can you see? So it mixes in with the original grass that you see on Sunsets and Skylines. So I hope that answered your question and I hope it helps. Vera bow here, and we've got that lovely framing out, that box frame, and the clever use of the awning here, where it's not just established on the caravan as a standard awning, but actually is creating some kind of shade, or as such an awning that's outside as opposed to a caravan awning. So it gives us a different feel, doesn't it? Use of the swing ball at the front and the fence post, the kayak just hiding down at the back there. So it gives us this feeling of things going on. Sue Dalrymple here, just to show you the back of it before you show you the front of it. It's just the caravan, the base card of the caravan. The rolling hills added to it to form our card base. Okay, so you've got all of that coming through to give you this beautiful extension card. Look at the swing ball over the happy birthday. Interactive cards, because we've got that visual sort of, you can see it, can't you? The swing ball swinging. And then we duck because it's about to hit us if we're not necessarily the sporty people in life. I was built for comfort, not speed. You've got this here. Look at that. Pretty, pretty elements. All of this raising forward. And again, we are looking at dimension. Okay? Those simple boxes that create the dimension. I hope this has given you lots of inspiration. I know you're all fantastic at card making anyway. Always nice to get new ideas though, isn't it? And seated panels coming through here. Cute as a button. I'll show you a couple more before we get to the final demo. You've got your long lines. Those rolling hills at the back, creating the back panel of the card. The car from Sunsets and Skylines as your towing device. Now, Pam here, just to show you, Pam Simpson has used those two hedges, folded them with a score line to create the base that holds the card upright. And that's then attached to the caravan. That gives you the idea of a scope going forward. So let me just reassemble that little, there you go. So you can see we get this different shaping out. And you can get the same at this side as well, so it will fold closed. Or we can open it out to create that longer line card. Clever. They're not the DT for nothing. If you want to seat it with it open like that, as you turn it round, the two back pieces will then add your stabilisation. They'll become the stands for your cards. So all absolutely gorgeous. I will show one last one just for Miss Taz, because Barbara Treadwell here, gorgeous use of the cows. I thought Miss Taz would like that.
Represent.
You can ignore it, it's fine, I do. Right, so you've got all of those elements. So from there, we're going to start one more demo. I'm going to do an easel card with this, just so you can see it formed in different ways. And then you should have, theoretically, all the ideas that you need. This chair, I actually think it's the chair that's the problem. I think it's the lump sat on it. What's wrong, Babs?
Do you know what the worst part is that she's actually like this off air to me as well. This is mean.
What happened What happened at breakfast time this morning, Miss Taz? What did I make you for breakfast? What was it? What did we have for breakfast?
Cheese on toast.
Cheese on toast. So I may sometimes torment her, but I do also make sure she's okay.
Well, do you know what Shirley said? She said, "Gosh, poor Miss Taz." So
Don't poor Miss Tazza. She has a very lovely time of it most of the time. All right, easel card formation. Easels were always a big nemesis for me when I started out card making. It seemed like everybody else could make an easel and I couldn't. Turns out they're super simple to make, but until you know, you don't know, right? And if you're first starting out in card making, it can seem like one of those things where you're like, I just don't get it. So I have got 2 pieces here, or 3 pieces, shall we say. One so they're 5 inches by 5 1/4, okay? 3 all the same size. Take one of those pieces, score it in half, put some red liner tape beneath your score line, and then score the top half at 1/2 inch, something like that, okay? And then you're going to turn it round, and that score line on the opposite side is going to have some red liner tape. That's going to work as your mechanism for your card, okay? So it's going to make your card stand up. Now, we've got this that serves as the base. So if you think of it in terms of a tray or a plate, and this is where my mechanism will be seated. So once I've got that on, that will fold and that will become the mechanism. And the card front will seat just on that red liner tape here. That will raise and lift, and that's going to give me my foundation for my easel card, which will fold flat for postage. It's really important, and one of the things that I always used to forget to do is make sure you have got your papers on the bottom if you want to add them in. If you try and do it afterwards, it's very hard, because if I get this down now, when I go to seat my mechanism on top, it's trapping both of them rather than me having to cut round them. So that's how I work it. I hope that helps somebody who is still learning. Let's bring this up here. And this one here. And I'm just going to seat this down. I always find it easier to do mine like this in portrait. I can't somehow seat my papers in landscape for some reason. My brain won't do it. Is that about straight, Taz? Are we about right?
Yeah.
So once we've got that there, now I can put my mechanism down. I've got the piece that I need to use, so I can put my mechanism down. And I'm leaving this one, the backing paper, exactly as it is. I'm putting the pink to the top. The pink is less important to me. I want the idea of a grass formation at the bottom. So normally, you know, I always put a piece of white on top, but in this instance, I don't want to do so. Right, so I'm going to place this down as best I can, smack bang on top. Using that line on my glass mat, then I can commit that down, and my mechanism is now seated. I'm going to keep that exactly the same as it is, and then take off these 2 pieces, and then I can start building in my formation. So I'm going to take this from the top, so I'm going to turn that over, put this directly on top, so I'm not committing any stick at this point. It just means I can get it into place. Now I can commit. So that bottom half is now seated, my mechanism all complete, and there's my perfect papers at the bottom with the grass there. So I've got the idea of a grounding device already happening, haven't I? I've placed that visual grass. So now I can put on my mats and layers, and all will be good with the world. Let's just remove this. Roll it, get it to the center, roughly. It's a lot easier when you can lean over. And then I'm going to cool that one. I'm going to cool the tones of that with a piece of white cardstock. Whenever I'm doing that, I always use a 350 GSM Carnation's smooth cardstock. The reason being is it's strong, it supports what I'm putting on it, and it's also got a beautiful non-texture, if that makes sense. It is really, really smooth, and by having that zero texture, I'm not detracting from anything else. So watercolor paper, etc., where you get that thick texture, that's not what I'm looking to have. So I've got a vague grounding device going on already. My mechanism is seated. So I've got this here. Everything's ready in terms of playtime. So from this, I'm going to take the caravan and I'm going to pop it on top. I'm going to keep it flat and I'm going to over the edge it. So I don't want to put it directly on top of the white or there. I don't need to, because I've got the grounding device below it. What I can do, if I want to be canny about it, is take the wheels right to the bottom and use your glass mat, because when that then stands up, they'll be sitting on the grass of the bottom layer. Okay, so it will make sense. It will become almost like a child's pop-up book in that same way, if you know what I mean. Small amounts of wet adhesive here. Let's place that right at the bottom, just offset on the edge. There. Now, I want to bring in my awning first. I want to establish it, get it in place so that everything else works around it. I could build florals in if I wanted to. I can, and I will bring some florals in. I could add elements behind it. For this purpose, I don't want to. So I'm just going to pull those legs apart there. Oof, oof. Line it up. And then place the little legs just down so that these pieces sit on the grass at the bottom as well, just down. Okay, so you've got the idea of the awning coming. Now when I lift this up, I'll just show you as I turn it around, the caravan sits on the grass, or the grass if you're from down south. So you can see how it kind of sits perfectly here. You create your grounding device with those backing papers that sit on your floor panel of your card, and it just makes it visually make sense. Let's add in, on foam tape, the canister. The reason I want it on foam tape is just to raise it slightly above. It'll just make more sense of it for me. So I'm going to put that down. Actually, I might put that right down here. Then I've got a kayak just to sit on the roof. Seat that there. And then I'm going to bring in my oar. And you see how we're raising through now? We're bringing in a diagonal. I can put it straight across, no problem. But visually it's nice to just give it a cross. Did I ask you last time if you'd been kayaking, Taz?
I have.
Did you like it?
I love it.
Did you?
I'd love to do it again.
Ew.
We'll do it tomorrow. I've booked it.
Well, you're on your own, kid. You don't want me in a kayak with you. I think we both know that that would be a disaster before we even started. Pop that there.
We could have a nice drink watching others kayaking.
That sounds more like it. That sounds perfect. pop the little one in front. You can put that on foam tape if you want to raise it up slightly. That'll give it the sense of kind of seating forward. That's not a problem at all. And then I've got my fence posts here. I'm going to put these on silicone gel glue. I want them to seat forward. I want some shadow from them. And I can also work in those ropes, just wiggle and a jiggle. It will give them a curvature just where we're manipulating that paper, and that gives it the nice shadow play behind. So that's another alternative for you. Place that in. Hold the ropes. Actually, I'm going to foam tape it. No, silicone gel it. Let's put some height on it, which is what I meant to do. Now, your best friend here is going to be your tweezers, and I don't think I've brought mine up, so I don't think I can use them. But tweezers are always a good idea, just to help you seat everything, especially when you're bending the cardstock as I have done here. So what I'm going to do is hold this and that, push them together, and then I'm just going to shunt my little one, my mid, and that'll go in. And then as I straighten everything out just at this side, it'll just allow those ropes to have a little bit of dimension, and then I can tidy up that silicone gel glue. Just gives it a bit of shadow play for it, so it looks a little bit offset. Now I want to have something down here. I don't want to just leave it blank. Now what is great is I can leave it blank because I've offset the caravan, so because it's going off the edge of the card, it actually gives it the sense of imbalance before I start, and so you can get away with the white space at the side. But I just want to bring something in. I want some value down in this corner because I've got a lot of white space at the top. So rather than just have it in completely blank, I'm just going to frame out some florals. Nothing too fancy, just enough to give it something. So let's frame out. I'm not going to bring too many in here, just a little piece. I can use a little bit of that, and I'm just going to tuck those in. Same on this side. Just tuck that behind my gas canister. Now, for those of you who already know how to make a easel card, it won't come as any surprise to know that in order for that mechanism to work, I'm gonna have to have, and it's going to be really important, a stopper on my card. If I don't have a stopper, the mechanism obviously doesn't work, and also without it there's not much point making an easel, right? Otherwise I've just got sort of it seated there. So I need to make use of the space that I've created and the grass that I've created behind it. So in order to do that, I'm just going to pull my mechanism so that I can open what I've done and work on the grass below. Now you can work out where your stopper wants to go. Do you want your card to seat further forward, further back? You can play with where you want it to be. You can create loads of different ways of having it. So if I want that to sit quite high up so it looks like it's straight, I'd want my stopper to be here. If I want it to be more relaxed and seated down, I'd place the stopper here. It's going to depend on where you want it. I'd place the stopper here. It's going to depend on where you want it, and it'll matter in terms of your end visual. So just removing some of my foam tape here. I'm going to seat this back so I can just work out where those feet of the caravan are and put my stopper in. So that's going to seat and hold the card together. So I've got my kayak at the bottom of the caravan waiting to be used. And then all I'm going to do in front of that, where my little fire is, it's got two cut lines in it. One there and one there. Okay, just at the edge of the logs, which means I can raise them. Thank you very much. Using some wet glue, I'm going to place it onto the logs. I'm going to put my campfire at the front. That'll fold flat for postage, so I don't need to worry about that. And then I'm going to use my florals again, just to add in a little bit of decoration. putting some flowers on the ground. I don't worry too much about symmetry. And then some of these little coloured ones, the little pink ones, just to give it a little pop of pink. The idea of those summer meadows that I miss so much. And then I'll place these ones, I'll place them down over here. That'll do nicely. And so finally, that's your easel card with your mechanism fully made up. Little fire standing upright at the front. So you've got dimension and height and placement there to be able to see all of the elements. They all seat forward and the card will just close by folding it out on top of those pieces. But it's just a nice way to add in some different pieces that you've got, using the cut lines for in the fire, for instance, to give it an extra little bit of height and dimension. So you've got a difference when you're looking at it, visual values that are different and not all the same and not all flat. That will then post flat for postage as well. Easel cards are a joy to make. They're not difficult to make. They're a bit different. They're slightly interactive for the recipient as well, so they make a nice finishing point, don't they, for easels? So for any of you who didn't know how to make it, I hope that helped. For those of you who did know how to make it, sorry, but we all have to start somewhere, right? And it's nice to have that kind of hand holding when we're just starting. So I hope it was valuable to somebody. Sunsets and Skylines, which is such a powerful collection of dies anyway. To give it its expansion pack and to be able to use that in a way that provides it as an outdoor sporty kind of hiking scene. That's incredibly powerful. 2 for 1 020 on the road again die set, $29.99, $2.95 UK P&P. You've only got until midnight tonight. At that point, it's going to take itself back up to $39.99. That'll happen automatically on the website. So you'll have lost your discounts. So today's the day to do it. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen and that's going to take you straight to the product. You can go to the new releases tab on the website. That'll take you straight to the product. Use the number 241020. That will take you straight to the product, or simply type in the search bar on the road again die set. That'll take you straight to the product as well. Loads of inspiration on Carnation Crafts website. There's also all kinds of other stuff there, so please do go ferret, see what you can find. All the elements that we need for crafting, including your smooth papers, that kind of thing, everything you need. And obviously, we're always about to help out. Any YouTube videos that we've done previously are always there for you to go and have a look at, which means you can go and see today's USB show. And that was on at 10 o'clock when we launched it on the Carnation Crafts channel. And that is an incredible USB set. Go watch the shows, find out what you're missing out on. And if you're a digital crafter, you'll be made up. We will see you. It's clean and simple. It's clean and simple next week. So you're going to have your shows there with Wheeler in the studios. So you'll be able to see that coming through. Is that on Tuesday? That's on Tuesday for you. So you've got that coming. Then it'll be on Hobby Maker further in the week as well. So plenty more to look forward to as far as Carnation is concerned. I know you all love your clean and simple. So you finally got your shows there.
I can see it.
Miss Taz is sitting next to it, feeling very smug about that. So you can stop feeling sympathy for her. And I will speak to you very, very soon. Until then, take really good care of yourselves. Stay safe, stay warm, and we'll speak to you soon. See you again. Bye.